Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
Boom! What's with focus?
Is that how sunny it is up there?
No, that's all right. Right, let's go. Oh, we are recording. Hi!
Nah, we're recording now. Right, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talk Scottish Football, episode number 110. And for the first time in quite a wee while, we come to you through the power of the internet. We're not in the studio today. The price of diesel is, I'm no trekking through to that studio 3 times a week. There's absolutely no chance. So I've called the boys onto Zoom. We're going to do a remote episode. These will probably be more kind of frequent throughout the season as well, with David being up in the Highlands, and we'll just do different pieces of content. So yeah, we're here today. On that note, David, hello. You're back up the road again. Did you enjoy your brief visit back down to Glasgow?
It's all right. I had fun. I had a good time.
Is that it? Just all right, aye.
Yeah, well, we'll come to it later on because we'll do some Dunfermline talk later on. Obviously, I had that meeting that I told you about, so that was interesting. You know,
Are you going to
the chairman? So
you got to spill all the beans on this podcast?
I'll spill a few beans in the podcast, but
nice.
Also, how many times are you going to flex that you drive a diesel? That's twice today.
Well,
once on here, once on Twitter.
Listen, it's not a flex. If anything, I am harming our precious environment, which is already dying by the minute.
Yeah. Man, you're fucking 40 fags a day.
And I adopted a penguin, so I'm making up for it.
Kieran, that's right. What we calling the penguin?
So I've decided I'm going to call him Gerald.
Okay. As in like
that's a
Gerald
shocking...
McCulloch.
What's wrong with Gerald?
Wait, did you say 40?
I don't know. They didn't really give me many details apart from a photo saying this is your thing.
You call him Jerry for short?
Aye, Jerry Gerald the penguin, aye. That's it.
You call him that when you're on the phone to him, aye.
How you doing,
Jerry
son?
McCulloch.
Do you need any more money sent up to you? No. Right. Anyway, Kieran, you're up there taking the piss at me. How you doing? You're back on TSF for the 3rd time in a row. Now you're actually breaking records.
No, this is definitely setting records, man. And I don't feel alright. This isn't normal.
Do you remember back in the day, like when you and Callum both just started in TSF, and you'd come up to the flat during the pandemic, like it was a bit like sneak you in through the front door, basically. Yeah. That was the good old days. That was a good old days.
Off the comments just to say too many Tims on this podcast.
So much so that I had to start whistling the sash at the start of it.
Listen, they were the good old days.
My commitment to the gimmick is unrivaled.
We've got a lot to talk about in today's show because it's a preview show for the weekend. We've, of course, had European football. There's some other bits and bobs, transfers and all the rest of it to cover. And we've got your questions all having to be done before David has to go back to his work. So we better get a move on. And let's start with the European football. And let's start with Dundee United last night, who got a magic result in Europe. A 1-0 win over Dutch side AZ Alkmaar. A side which Celtic, just got past last year, Kieran, if you remember rightly. So, I mean, Jack Ross's first step into Europe as a manager, and a pretty successful one at that. It's a good start in the two-legged affair, isn't it?
I mean, for the first few minutes of the game, I was kind of worried that they were sort of giving a bit too much respect to AZ Alkmaar. But I mean, they're a good team, obviously, but I just thought they seemed a bit standoffish, but they really grew into the game, and everybody on the pitch, man, pass marks for every one of them because they were outstanding. Like, for a team like Dundee United, like, as we were talking in the chat last night, they're starting to look really strong throughout the team, and now they're hopefully going to be able to prove that they can take this into the second leg. But I think it will be a tough ask to go to Holland, and they'll be asked to put in double the performance, to be honest, because AZ were coming here sort of thinking that they're going to just brush them aside. So now they've got a point to prove when they go back to Holland. So I think it's going to be a tough task next week for them. But I know you can't take it away from last night.
David, I mean, I think over the course of the 90 minutes, Dundee United looked the better side. So despite it being such a difficult task next week to go over to Holland and get something, I mean, I'm sure that the performance of them, and in particular, there's a couple of players who deserve really big credits for last night. Dylan Levitt's the guy who everybody's raving about, for example. But in terms of an overall team performance, they couldn't have done much more to send them over to Holland with the ambition of winning.
No, the clean sheet I think was a huge thing because if they got the clean sheet, there was always a chance maybe on the counter they could nick something. But their chances out with the goal too. We mentioned the child Stephen Fletcher was really good last night, really effective, led the line really well. But you like to bring Jamie McGrath off the bench. I mean, he's Hibs have been after him, Aberdeen have been after him, Dundee United have finally got him. He's a top quality player. And as Kieran mentioned, their squad is really, really, really good. Like, there's so much experience, but also talented youth there as well. And the more I looked at it, I was like, Jesus, I don't know why I didn't tip them for third, because actually it's such a well-balanced squad. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough, obviously, next week, but I think they can go there. If they can keep it tight at the back, there's no reason why they can't hurt them on the counter-attack again. If they can get a goal over there, say early on, it's going to make it really nervy for the Dutch side. But yeah, what a result, and Tannadice absolutely bouncing too.
When you talk about counter-attacks, let's talk about the goal, because it's magic. It's one of the goals of the season already in terms of what you're going to see from a Scottish team in any competition this year. Brilliantly worked, and a fantastic finish from Glenn Middleton. I actually missed it at the time. I don't want to live up to the joke of what you said a minute ago about the 40 fags a day, but I actually went at the back to have a fag, and I was just scrolling Twitter at the same time. What a goal, what a goal, what a goal.
Is that you smoking out the back of your auntie's gaff? Is that what you're doing?
Am I not allowed to smoke at the back of auntie's gaff? No.
I thought that's pretty poor when she's on holiday. Like,
she smokes in the gaff. Like, if anything, I'm being polite by going outside. This is just me. By the way, this is me just to my holidays. I'm pre-smoking. I'm just getting my lungs warmed up for going away to Magaluf. But the goal itself, right? We're getting distracted here, right? The goal itself, Kieran. I mean, if that's a sign of what Dundee United can do over the course of the season, then tipping them for third place, as David said, is probably a really good shout. I mean, I did tip them for third, but it's just so good.
I mean, they're attacking players. I mean, when they signed Stephen Fletcher, I thought that would have been a great signing at the start of the year. But I mean, see last night, him and Tony Watt were both on their game. They provided an outball for, obviously they're going to have to do a fair bit of defending. But I mean, to actually give them an option up top too, like Stephen Fletcher, big experienced striker, bringing the ball down. Tony Watt was, I mean, in that first half, especially near the end, he was absolutely bossing it. So I just think, attacking wise, we've got so many exciting players, and I think players like Glenn Middleton, obviously he finished half the goal yesterday, but he made so much happen in it. But I just think this is the right environment for him to actually flourish, to be honest, because he done well in spells at St Johnstone. Obviously scored that free kick in was it the semi-final or the final?
Yes,
semi-final, I think.
Semi-final. But I mean, I think they're in a team now where they're going to be attacking teams most of the season. I think, even for these early days at Rangers, I thought you can tell there's a player there, but it's now just about allowing it to develop. I think Dundee United is probably the perfect place for that to happen.
Well, that was my next question I was going to pose, is this the place, David, for him to find a home in Dundee United? Is this where he's kind of, when he went to Rangers, I think it was Craig Levine last night who was saying, when he first went to Rangers, there was the potential there. I think everybody had sort of high hopes. It didn't quite work out. Is Dundee United a chance for him to kind of recapture those sort of early thoughts?
He's only 22 still. That's mental. He's been on the go for so long, it feels like. I don't see why not. I think Kieran's right. They're going to be a team that attacks. Jack Ross does like to have his teams attacking. It's at times at Hibs, especially defence, was just hoaching. One thing he has got is a decent backline at United. What are you messing around with there? Telling you. One your face is the main one, and that's just at the side. So no, listen, definitely. I think there's real chance he can have a good season, but also, I mean, Kieran mentioned about Stephen Fletcher and Tony Watt. If you're Tony Watt now, who's had probably the best season of his career last year, or certainly the last 18 months of having the best spell of his career. He's now got a kind of older, experienced striker who's had a very good career, played at a national level. For Tony Watt as well, that'll be great to play with Stephen Fletcher. There's just so much to be excited about with that United squad. And I mean, I think no matter what happens next week, just the fact they've had that night, they'll be pretty happy because it seems to be quite an occasion.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Dundee United fans won't be complaining about a trip to Holland next week either. It's not the worst place to draw. Did you see
they were queuing?
Hold on, boys. Yes.
What's that?
Players have tweeted the pen gif.
Oh, the pen gif is out. Who's
yes.
Coming? Have you got any?
Yes.
Have you got any exclusives right now? Do you know who it could be?
It's one of two. It's either Chris Mockery, who's a youngster from Dundee United on loan, or Robbie Crawford, who was at Livy and
Robbie Crawford.
Okay, it's one of the two.
Well, we'll wait and see if it gets announced by the end of the episode. We'll let you celebrate in due time. Kieran, what you were saying about queues?
No, I'm saying I think they've been allocated like 1,800, 1,900 tickets for over in Holland. And I've seen their fans, some of them were queuing for the minute the game finished last night outside the ticket office, like waiting until it opened in the morning, like to actually go and get their tickets. Like, that's commitment.
That is commitment. I mean, granted, I would probably do the same if I knew there was a very small chance of getting an away ticket for Celtic, but that is commitment, and they'll enjoy it. Look, listen, as you said, as David said, despite what happens next week, they've had a moment. Tannadice looked bouncing last night. It was nice to see a kind of fuller ground in Scotland for a European game. So there's a lot of positives to go alongside that. Anyway, Anything else you want to say in Dundee United before we move on to the next topic?
Well, I mean, you think about where they were 5 years ago. They were stuck in the Championship for God knows how long, slugging it out, with the financial issues, and it was a bit of a nightmare of a time. But we talk about the young players, but even like the young supporters that have gone last night, that'll be them hooked. I mean, they'll be fucking wanting a ticket for Saturday now. So yeah, I mean, they're a big club, Dundee United. I think we kind of forgot about that because they were stuck in the Championship for so long. So it is kind of good to see some of the traditional bigger clubs back in the top flight. Obviously, with that spells with Hearts, Hibs, and that were away. But yeah, it's a competitive fight for the top 6. I think definitely.
Yeah. Right, well, with one European dream alive, another may be coming to an end because Rangers had a terrible start in their Champions League quest on Tuesday night against Union Saint-Gilloise. A 2-0 loss. Now, I'm going to be honest with you boys. We done that preview show on Tuesday morning. We didn't speak about it once. I completely forgot that. I didn't know the game was on until
Why have you done this?
What?
We could have just pretended we knew it was going to go out after. That's what you're now making us look even more ill-informed.
No, well, you two knew. I was the one playing the role of host. I'm blaming myself here. I had no idea.
Kieran wasn't there. It was Callum.
Oh, so it was. Sorry, Kieran. Sorry, I was thinking that you were on. Honestly, until they were 2-0 down, I had no idea the game was on. I had no clue whatsoever. So, David, I'll pass the microphone to you here, mate. I mean, a disappointing result for Rangers in a game and a tie that they probably fancied their chances in.
Yeah, I still think they'll scud them next week, to be honest.
So they are.
I can't see any way they don't, but it just seemed like one of them really horrible. You've seen Celtic and Rangers have them so many times, like your Lincoln Red Imps, your Progress, they're just them kind of horrible away trips. Rangers by all accounts, I mean, the penalty is a fucking shocker. I still don't really understand how that was given. And I think it was McLaughlin, probably should save the first, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's important Rangers get a finger out next week, but I don't know. I don't think Gio will be overly worried. The only thing that there is to worry about is if they can go maybe, say the team come over and they can keep them out for, say, the first half, and it starts to get really nervy, then it could be like Malmo all over again for Rangers. But I think they should have enough in the next leg. But it is a weird one because I don't think anyone had really thought that Rangers might slip up. That's probably why you forgot about it, because it wasn't really like will they go through? It was like, well, this should be plain sailing.
If they were playing, the next round is obviously meant to be PSV or Monaco if they go through. If it was PSV or Monaco, trust me, I'd know it was on. But it's one of those games at the back of my head. I was thinking, right, well, Rangers are going to go through this tie anyway. So I didn't really make much of it. Kieran, I don't know if you managed to catch much of the game on Tuesday, but obviously when you see the social media reaction, and obviously social media is a different world from the real world, a lot of Rangers fans unhappy, a few calling for the head of Gio. Is it just one of those reactionary this is a guy that led them to a Europa League final 2 months ago. Is it just one of those moments, we've been here with Celtic so many times where we have seen disappointment in Europe and it brings out the worst in the supporters? Do you think it's something similar to that?
I think it was just a pure shock to the system, because I don't know if everybody was just so complacent with it because of how well they done in Europe last year that they just weren't even thinking that it was in the realms of possibility that they were not going to scud this team, even away from home. So I don't know if that crept into it a wee bit, even with the players. They must have thought, right, now, after what happened last year, we can definitely take these cunts easy. But I don't know. I don't see any way that they don't overturn the result at Ibrox next week pretty convincingly. I can't even speak on I seen the game or that. I just thinking back to last season, they've beaten better teams at Ibrox. If they don't beat them, then that's when questions need to be asked, right, what's actually happening there. But as we've all said, if they don't overturn that result, I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah, David, what happened to your camera there? You just disappeared.
I'm sorry to have a scran while we're recording.
You try to eat while you were recording. You're a dirty bastard. I'm sure the audience.
I'm on my break from work. All right, the commitment I've got here. I'm just in the door.
Question
this is what that guy that came on the phone in on Celtic Thunder and was eating his chips.
So was that like McGinley, was it?
I wouldn't be surprised if McGinley turned up doing that. What are you eating, David? Give us your meal.
Got a wee Cajun chicken burger on the go, but it's fucking cold, man.
Sounds fine. Well, I don't know what I'm having. My dad's on holiday, so my dad's the chef, and last night he gave me chips that were burnt, very burnt.
Totty's
chips and beetroot. That's his meal.
A wee picky tea, wee slice of ham and that.
No yet. Aye, big result for Union Saint-Gilloise, I suppose, but Rangers really need to get the finger out in that next leg. Or, that's the thing. Pressure will build. I mean, unrightfully or so, pressure will build on Gio if these results keep happening. And, people did voice their disappointment with the league last season. They kind of recovered that. A lot of people who claimed the Europa League run kind of saved them and such. I'm not getting into any of that. I personally... I think that, it's far too early in the season to start throwing
It's all about narratives as well, isn't it? I think if Rangers drop into the Europa League now, the support will probably easily spin that, well, listen, we'd rather be competitive in the Europa League and get humped in the Champions League kind of thing. And knowing what they did last season, that will still fill them with excitement.
The biggest problem, of course, is that giving Celtic that financial advantage. If we keep getting £40 million in the bank, you get nowhere near the same amount for qualifying for the Europa League. No. If Celtic keep getting that sort of advantage, that will get on the nerves of Rangers supporters, and it'll be something that Celtic will continue to use and better themselves in the future. That's the thing.
It's a really interesting thing though, because I've seen lots of I don't know if it was Super Scoreboard or if it was BBC, and pretty much I think only 3 pundits picked Celtic to win the league. And I can't really understand that, to be perfectly honest. I don't. I think it's going to be close, and I picked Celtic not because I think Celtic are going to steamroll it, because I just think their squad's in a better place. I don't know how you can really look at the Rangers squad just now and say that it's in a better place than the Celtic one. I mean, you've got a lot of new signings. John Souttar's come in. I think John Souttar will be a good signing. He's a shocker of a debut. They still seem a little bit short at the back. We don't know what Ben Davis is going to be like. New left back, what's he going to be like? Kolak doesn't really seem to have hit the ground running yet. So there's lots of question marks with that Rangers squad. So I find that a bit strange. Anyway.
Well, we can only wait and see. Very early days, and then we're going to preview this weekend anyway, which is obviously 2 big games for the Derby sides. Anyway, we'll recap everything to do with Europe next week. Hopefully Dundee United can continue their great form, and on behalf of Div, I'm sure he'll be hoping that Rangers carry on through the Champions League. Me, personally, not too fussed. Unbiased, but not too fussed. Right, anyway, let's preview our games for the weekend then in the Scottish Premiership. Since David's only got about half an hour left, we better get moving. We'll also talk about Championship, League 1, League 2. David can get
fuck the Championship.
So David can give his briefings on League 1. We'll start off with tomorrow's 3 o'clock fixtures. Of course, both Celtic and Rangers taking part in 3 o'clock fixtures tomorrow. No televised games for either side. Because, of course, the televised game... Well, we should start with the Edinburgh Derby, shouldn't we? Because that's the biggest game of the weekend. The televised game this weekend, Hibs and Hearts. It's the first big derby of the season. Kieran is at Easter Road. Hibs really need to use this game to make some sort of statement that they're still competitive in that city.
I know. I feel like last season it was pretty much like... For seasons that have gone by, it's always been, we're the big team, you're the wee team. Hearts have certainly got something to put Hibs down with in the past year, because Hibs were honking last year, and Hearts obviously established themselves as the best of the rest in the league. They're looking to try and build on that and keep it going for years to come. They've got guaranteed group stage European football. So, I mean, if you're trying to settle that debate right now, it's not looking too good for Hibs. But I know, as you said, it's massive for Hibs because they need to go out and get a result against them. It's just vital, especially under Lee Johnson. And have you seen this talk about Martin Boyle coming back as well?
Yeah, I've seen the rumours.
There's rumours there's some sort of injury or something in America. There was some talk there was a medical and there was an injury or something. But I mean, that'd be huge if they could get him back. Absolutely huge.
If Aidan McGeady's sidelined for 2 or 3 months now, which isn't ideal. I mean, I still don't really think the signing of Aidan McGeady made too much sense, to be honest with you. I just felt the signing for the name, not for any real practical purposes. But this is the sort of thing that comes with signing Aidan McGeady at the age that he's at.
And also, just appointing Lee Johnson in the first place just gave you the idea this could be a bit of a banter season for Hibs. I don't know why. I think he's a really fucking unlikable character. But anyway, but you're right, it's huge. Hibs have got to show a bit of fight this weekend, especially, with the game being at home and the hammerings they took last year. But if I'm honest, again, I look at Hearts and Robbie Nielsen and just think, well, I can't look past them winning the game, to be honest. They're just stronger all over the park.
I meant to say to you in the last podcast, you don't think you're being a little harsh on Lee Johnson? Done a cracking job at Bristol City down in England.
I know, but was he not at Sunderland as well and he had a shocker?
I think it was Sunderland manager, was it? But I mean, everybody went Sunderland had a shocker, didn't they?
I still look back at the time when they had the toss-up to appoint him as John Dal Thomason and they went for him, and I just could not understand it at all. It's such a fucking typical Scottish football appointment. And his shite about Bashiri and the yellow card and all that was just, he pissed me off already. So he's on the list.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a big game, of course. In terms of how it'll be played, the Edinburgh derbies haven't been spectacular to watch in recent times. They've always been a bit stinking. So, David, are you hoping that this is one that kind of breaks the mould and starts off the 22-23 campaign with a little bit of fire?
Since Rudy Scatchell left, they've all been shite, really. That kind of generation, they were all magic. It was goals galore. Fuck knows. I mean, it'll be a bit of a tough watch, I would imagine. These early season games tend to be a bit like that anyway. Hearts will go there and try and frustrate, but it wouldn't surprise me if Hearts end up dominating the game, and then the Hibs fans will just get on the team's back. I don't know. I think Hibs are just so far off Hearts personally, so I think it could be like 2-3-0 Hearts, if I'm honest.
Do you see the boy? On you go, sorry.
No, I was going to make a point about the tickets and that as well. I've seen Hibs have actually sold out Easter Road for this game.
Oh,
but
have
I think,
they?
That's nice.
Very often.
Well. Turn up to a derby game after, what was it, last season? How many did they take to the semi-final against their biggest rivals?
8,000 or something like that. Was not something dreadful like that.
I think that might have been for the Rangers game, the one they actually beat them that. But it was still
Really?
shocking. You shouldn't need to push derby tickets as much as that. Like, I'm pretty sure they're advertising campaigns. And
the game should sell itself.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, but if you're a Hibs fan and you go to Hampden, I mean, they always get pumped off Hearts at Hampden, right? And it was like a 12 o'clock kickoff in Glasgow. It's a fucking nightmare to get there at the best of times. I understand, but like, fuck me, Hibs have been so shite. Like,
I hate that. No, I hate that argument at all. Let's see.
What argument?
Like, are the fans for Edinburgh saying, "Oh, it's a bastard to get to Glasgow"? Get a bus. Fucking shut up.
It's true though, because fans of Celtic, Rangers.
Because he's got a much bigger support than Hibs do.
But they make
Like a much bigger support.
We make journeys
for the game.
There's probably more fucking Celtic fans in Edinburgh than there are Hibs fans. Jesus Christ, let's be honest.
Sometimes we have 12 o'clock kickoffs in Dingwall. You don't see Celtic fans.
I know, but how many?
There's
fucking more Celtic fans in Dingwall than there are Ross County fans. It doesn't really matter, does it?
I know, but
they're the locals.
Celtic fans
They're
in
not getting
Dingwall
the
getting a
tickets.
fucking ticket.
I know. Aye, they don't get the tickets.
That's another argument. Like, you're on the side of these other teams, David, and I don't like it.
So what we should do? We're just gonna make this the Celtic Thunder as well. Fuck it, let's just do that.
Right, we'll get swap Cam Craig in
Let me
quickly.
get my green glasses on, my fucking green pen that's beside my computer.
I was actually going to say a minute ago, we really need to do our best to get a Hibs fan on here because we are falling into the trap of just slagging Hibs at every possible opportunity.
But they deserve it, to be fair.
I know we've got Adam on to actually just stick the boot in as well, man.
Aye. Did you see Grant, the boy Grant for Hearts? I don't know. Is his name actually like Jorge? Is it Jorge Grant?
He said he's not allowed to wear green or something like that.
Aye, not allowed to wear green. It's like that. Remember that story a few
Barry
years ago
McCann,
about
Pedro Caixinha.
green boots, Pedro Caixinha and all that nonsense. It's like that.
Quite right too.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't mind a wee bit of that culture at your club. You know, if I was manager of Celtic, I'd be saying, get them blue boots off. Fucking away to France. I'd be into that. But hey, let's get our score predictions done. Hibs Hearts, derby time. Who's winning the first derby of the season, David Buke?
2-0 Hearts.
2-0 Hearts, the Jam Tarts, the Wattery Farts. Kieran Auld.
I've went 2-1 Hearts. I'm going to give a wee Hibs goal just to try and make the game a bit more exciting for me because I feel like any time I tune in, they're absolutely honking to watch. So
Okay.
I'm just thinking of myself here. I'm not thinking anything in particular.
Okay, I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Very boring, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. On the fence. I just don't know what side has got the upper hand this season because both sides got narrow wins last week, and obviously Hearts are a far better team overall. But I don't know. I need more time to judge who's going to have the upper hand. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 draw just now. Let's move on to the rest of the 3 o'clock games. Then Aberdeen St Mirren. Jim Goodwin will take on his former side. I mean, David, take it away.
It's one of those. Have you seen those like football conspiracy accounts? It does feel like Aberdeen and St Mirren play each other every second week. It does feel like that's a fixture that happens a lot. It was like that period when Motherwell and St Mirren played each other like 5 times in fucking 2 weeks.
Oh, fuck
yeah, I fancy Aberdeen. I mean, I said in the podcast the other day I was relatively impressed with them at Celtic Park, given how shite they have been against Celtic in recent times. I thought they were a bit better. I think there was a lot in that performance that you could maybe think, right, okay, in a game where they might dominate the ball, they might do okay. I think they've signed really well by the looks of things. St Mirren are in a weird one just now, aren't they? Because we've obviously gone from the last couple of seasons, they were very much Tony Fitzpatrick saying they're pushing top 6 and all that carry on. And I just don't really know where they are. I don't think they're in trouble, but I don't think they're top 6 level. So
Tony Fitzpatrick stepped down now as well, hasn't he? He's
Yeah.
no longer in his position. So it's a weird sort of period now for St Mirren, where they have got this new direction with both obviously Stephen Robinson in charge and a new guy at the top as well. It's a difficult season to gauge. Last week, Kieran, St Mirren fans on the radio anyway were, and I don't think this speaks on behalf of every St Mirren fan, but in their loss to Motherwell, a lot of fans were actually saying that they feel more optimistic about this season because they actually played well in the game. They were probably robbed of the 3 points. So, I mean, it's a bit of a weird situation just now in general for St Mirren.
I mean, it wouldn't have been the start to the season they would have wanted, but obviously fans are taking a bit of solace in the performance. But, I mean, it still is getting beat out managerless Motherwell, first game of the season. I mean, I don't know if people were too happy with the way Robinson was playing come the end of the season. I feel like people think it's a wee bit uninspired, but I don't know. They've got the chance to try and kick on now. I feel like after the first game of the season is out the way, I feel like that's when you start to see it, because the first few games anyway, it's kind of the unknown. You're just trying to get yourself into a bit of a rhythm. But I think Aberdeen especially will have too much for St Mirren in this game, in my opinion. As David said, it's one of the better performances you've seen for Aberdeen going to Celtic Park, because a lot of people like to think that Aberdeen lie down to Celtic, you know. But I just think I was a bit doubtful with Aberdeen's signings, just because you don't really know who any of them are coming in the door. But I mean, you've got some players coming in with some decent, no pedigree, but like decent seasons behind them. Like even that boy that came up for Notts County, he played really well for them last year. He got quite I think it was like 17 goals or something. So you've got players coming in. I think if we're moving on to predictions, I'll go 2-0. Just a nice solid win for them.
Okay. Shayden Morris also coming up the road today to Aberdeen. He's signed from Fleetwood, poached off Scott Brown's side. Another forward coming through the door. David, your score prediction?
I'll go 2-1. I think Kieran's really good point though, and also they've done their business very early. Aberdeen, they're not scraping around as they have been. Remember that January window a couple of seasons back where they got like 3 players on the final day and they were all absolute jobbies. They got like Fraser, who was it? Fraser Hornby, Flo Canberry, and someone else. Who was it?
Oh,
So, it was what's his name? Carl Hendry. That's it. And they were just all shite. They were just scrambling with that. I think they got about 1 goal between the 3 of them. I think Aberdeen have done well. I think they'll win this weekend, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-0 as well. I'm agreeing with Kieran. I think we'll keep a clean sheet in the game as well. Motherwell, St Johnstone, the battle of the jobbies, you could say, because both sides, of course, right down the bottom of the pecking order in terms of expectations this season. Motherwell, let's just quickly touch on the subject here. Stevie Hamill will hold further talks with Motherwell to try and land the manager's role. He will apparently meet up with discussions about the vacancy next week, but they want to have a manager appointed before their game against Aberdeen next week on the 13th of August. So Kieran, a very big game for Stevie Hamill. If he could get another win and maybe a good performance into the bargain, he's very much putting himself in a position where he could probably land that job.
See, with Motherwell, we're in a position of how many managers out there are available that you can attract to the job. Because, I mean, it's not exactly the most attractive prospect. If any manager was to look at the form they've been in 2022, they'll have seen all that about them getting put out for Sligo Rovers. So it's not exactly the sort of thing you want to go in and put your name to, unless you're certain in your abilities that you're going to turn that around. But I think Stevie Hamill's doing, I think it's probably the best thing for them to just try and get a bit of solidity. And I don't know if I don't know what their ambitions for this season is. I feel like I need to ask a Motherwell fan now, because with the manager gone out the door so early in the season, where do they realistically think they're going to end up? Is this going to be a season to just try and steady the ship and plan ahead for future seasons? I think they might just be looking at it that way and think they can get a bit of solidity with Stevie Hamill coming in.
So you nodding your head in agreement there, David?
Yeah, Motherwell objective should always be at staying in the league, really. I mean, Motherwell are not that much of a bigger club than Dunfermline. They don't have that much of a bigger... I mean, they could easily be Dunfermline or Falkirk if it all goes wrong. St Johnstone are exactly the same, but if St Johnstone get relegated this year, I'd really worry for them. You look at what's happened to Hamilton. I mean, you know, and especially with all we mentioned earlier about the teams, some bigger teams being in the Championship, that's not the case anymore. So for Motherwell to be pushing for like 3rd, 4th is a real big ask, really big ask. So yeah, they'll hope to stay up, and if they can push to the top 6, that'll be a bonus, I think.
In terms of St Johnstone, it's another game about just, I think, gauging where they are as a team. I don't know what to expect of St Johnstone's an away trip. They need to try and get something in this game, David, because the wheels are just slowly falling off. I say slowly falling off, rapidly falling off. I don't know what direction they are in as a club just now. They are in real trouble.
Yeah, they need something. And to be honest, I think they might get something. I think this game's got 0-0 written all over it, for me personally, or at least a draw of some kind. I mean, Hibs, they were probably unlucky last week. I know that Hibs just scraped past them, but yeah, there's a real lack of inspiration amongst that squad. And gone from being like their greatest and most hailed manager of all time, probably the majority of fans want Callum Davidson gone now, which is just bizarre. Well, it's not bizarre, but it's mental how quickly that's turned around.
Adam Montgomery masterclass at the weekend, Kieran.
I'm not even going to put that pressure on the boy's shoulders. I don't think he's going to be under that sinking ship, I think. I just... look, if we're even going back to the transfer window, but like it's just uninspired is the word I would use for the signings they've been making, like Jamie Murphy and even Adam. Like, I don't even want to say about Adam Montgomery because he's a Celtic player, but I'm like, it's just why the ones where do you reckon he's going to be playing week in, week out? Is it just somebody to get like further depth in? It just there doesn't seem to be any direction that the club's heading. It just seems, I don't know, they're riding on the coattails of that cup double the other season. Where do they go for here? I genuinely don't know. But
yeah, it's a tricky one for St Johnson. It's a real mess. Right, let's get score predictions in. David, I'll start with you.
1-1, 0-0, 1-1, 0-0.
Oh, pick one.
0-0.
0-0, right, Kieran.
I put one each. I just think, as David said earlier, draw it, not edit.
I'm going to break the mould. I'm going to say 1-0 to St Johnstone. Just have a feeling that they're going to do it, and it's going to be the shittest 1-0 you'll ever see in your life. But there you go. Right, there's only 3 more games to cover, and we've got only, I think, 15 minutes till David has to bounce, and then we've got to talk about other things as well. So we'll try and get through these last 3 as quickly as possible. Dundee United, Livingston, of course, back to Tannadice on Sunday, as you said earlier, David. Hopefully a lot of tickets being sold for the game. But Kieran, a game in which Dundee United should fancy their chances, riding on the confidence of the European masterclass.
So you would think so, but I'm thinking, in the back of my head here, I'm thinking European hangover. It's the first time in Europe in a decade. I don't know. I'm fancying a nut and each in that game, if I'm being honest. But I mean, I was praising the squad that Dundee United have got earlier, but I don't know. I just kind of shake that feeling.
Can I get rid of it now?
No.
Oh, okay.
European hangover, I think.
Aye. I mean,
I wasn't sure if Livy went and got something.
Livingston didn't look bad last week against Rangers. Of course, they ended up losing in the end, but you know, they didn't look as though they were going to be any easy team to beat this season. So, you know, you could be right, I suppose. Could be.
Never know.
Never know. Okay, let's get score predictions then. I think it's going to be a European hangover. What we're saying?
2-1 Livy for me.
Okay, Kieran.
Not in each.
Not in each. I'm going to say I'm not going to agree with the European hangover. I think Dundee United will get the job done, and I'm going to say 2-1 to the Arabs. Yes, that's what I'm going to go for. And then finally, the last 2 games in the Premiership this weekend, of course, involving the Derby sides in Glasgow. Celtic take on Ross County and Rangers take on Kelly. We'll start with the Ross County Celtic game. Kieran, I'll go to you since obviously you're a Celtic fan. Dingwall, tough place to go. First away game of the season. It's got to be a big assessment for the squad and how they kind of move forward in the away games this year. You confident of a win?
I mean, I've put us down for a win because I'm not going to put us down for anything else, am I? But I just think Dingwall's just such a horrible place to go, especially last season. The fashion that we won there on both times. I mean, Ralston, like with that last minute goal, absolutely, my heart was in my arse, man. Like, it was actually awful to watch. Like, just as from a fan's point of view, it's no nice. But what's the actual scoreline the second time?
We won 2-0 the second time.
But it's just like, I can see us winning, hopefully, but it's not the nicest place to go. I feel like still to see Ross County with the signings they've made this season, but I don't know. I'm hoping it's a bit easier for us this year than it was last year, because it's one of the games you just hate to watch, man.
Yeah, no, Dundee United, sorry. Ross County last week, David, they put up a decent fight against Hearts. They were probably quite unlucky at Tynecastle, so they'll certainly, I think, give Celtic a go at the weekend, but you'd imagine that Ange will just have a bit too much.
Celtic should have too much, but it's like Ross County are a decent side now, so it's not even so much like can they just sit behind 10 men behind the ball and hope for the best. They will have a little bit of a threat going forward too. But I can't see anything else other than a Celtic win. Imagine he'd make some changes too. I wouldn't be surprised if Giakoumakis started, just to change things up a little bit. It's going to be a bit more of a physical game, I think, up there anyway. So it might suit him a bit better. And he'd be champing at the bit after not playing last week.
You think that as well, but I mean, Kyogo scored a belter at a header there last season as well, which is something you wouldn't have expected. But I think in the course of the season, I think Ange's going to cherry pick games for Giakoumakis that will suit him better, like your Livy aways and that, just games like that. But I don't know, I'd be happy with either of them starting tomorrow, to be honest with you.
Very good dilemma to have. Sorry, I'm yawning. A very good dilemma to have with the options up front. I was still thinking I was making my preview video before this, and I was thinking, will it be a Bada? Will it be, there's so many questions in the front three, but all of the possible combinations should be getting the job done. So, score predictions for Celtic Ross County. I'll start us off since I've done mine. I'm going to go 2-0 Celtic. Kieran?
I put 2-1.
Oh, a clean sheet away.
3-1.
3-1. Okay, right. Have some respect on Joe Hart, please. And then the last game in the Premiership this weekend, Rangers take on Kilmarnock. It's not on the plastic park of Rugby Park. It will be at Ibrox at 3 o'clock tomorrow. David, Rangers need to get back to winning ways after that loss midweek.
Remember big Gordon Sawers? He'll be buzzing. Both teams as are playing this weekend. That'll be a good one to watch. I don't know. I mean, it's a free hit for Kelly, isn't it? Really, but I mean, Rangers have got to bounce back. Surely they've got the ability to make some changes from midweek and freshen up too. It could be one of them 4 or 5-0 jobs, I think, for Rangers this weekend.
Oh, 4 or 5-0. Wow. Kieran, are you thinking the same? Are you thinking it's just going to be a blowout for Rangers?
I think it'll be a convincing Rangers win. They've obviously got a point to prove after the first 2 games they've played this season. They'll be in stellar performances, but I still think Kelly have got something about them, man. I'm put 3-1 Rangers, but I think it's still convincing enough. But I think Kelly will go put up a wee bit more of a fight than David might be expecting.
How will Kyle Lafferty fare tomorrow?
Oh, he won't know what to do, so.
But won't know to go in the stand.
Like a pig in shit, won't he, really?
I'm going to go for 4-0 to Rangers. I think that Kilmarnock will certainly try and have a go, and I think that they'll probably be difficult, but I just think in the final third, Rangers will probably get a little edge on them and find the net a few times.
Has Derek McKennan's been on any Rangers podcast this week, no?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Right, okay. Just so we,
We're going to try and get him on this. Right, Del, how you doing? Let's get him on. But that's the Premiership done then this weekend. That's all our score predictions and everything else. It's an exciting weekend, of course, as we head into what is the second match day of the season. So very quickly,
let's rattle through the Championship.
I was just about to rattle through it. In the Championship this weekend, of course, tonight we have Queen's Park taking on Ayr. Then tomorrow at 3 o'clock we'll have Morton taking on Cove Rangers, Partick Thistle taking on Hamilton, Rafe versus Dundee, and Arbroath versus Inverness. What's your standout there, David, this weekend?
The game tonight looks interesting. Queen's Park got a good point last week against Inverness, so they'll be hoping they could get a win on home soil tonight. I say home soil, it's definitely half a home ground. I think they're at Stennismuir this season, but I could be wrong.
Are they?
I think they might be, because they're not at Firhill this season. I'm pretty sure that's stopped. I mean, apart from that, Raith Dundee could be interesting. Dundee need a win, or at least a point after last week's defeat.
Okay, fair enough. Nice, thank you for your expertise. Right, let's get on to League One. I know, Kieran, you've just sat there in silence for the Championship.
No, I would have got.
He's more than happy.
More than happy. Right, David, tell us a bit about your club then. Tell us a bit about Dunfermline.
So I got invited to a wee meeting at East End Park on Tuesday night.
Part of that, what was that, 4 or 5 select fans?
There was like six or seven of us, I think, over there.
Was that, would they have the pints out for these?
No, it was cups of tea and biscuits, so it was decent. McPake was choking for a beer. I think he had a long day. And basically we were just there with James McPake, David Cook, the chairman, for about an hour and a half, just completely free conversation about anything. And it was brilliant. Really, really good. We've gone from having 2 managers last year who were absolute egomaniacs who could impress you with their talk, but they were very much always talking about how great they were. Whereas McPake basically just slagged himself off for like an hour and a half, which I kind of loved a little bit. He was basically saying about all the things he'd done wrong at Dundee, everything he's trying to do differently now. He just seems a real genuine guy. And David Cook, who's our new chairman, who used to work at Celtic and Everton and Nottingham Forest, worked for Etihad when they got their sponsor at the Old Man City. So he's far overqualified for Dunfermline. And he was just absolutely reeking of professionalism, when you just meet someone who knows their shit. And that was him. So that was really good. Lots of good talk. And we've signed a player, which is good. But the interesting thing, we've got FC Edinburgh this weekend, and it's their first home game. And they've asked for Dunfermline fans to be there between 1 and 2 p.m. For a 3 o'clock kickoff.
Are they caging you in?
Fuck knows. There's 700 Dunfermline fans going, and they want them there between 1 and 2 because they've only got one entrance point to the whole ground.
Is this the sports complex? Yeah, stadium.
Yeah, it's a wee fucking. It's horrendous. So it's interesting to see how that'll go tomorrow. But as long as we win, I don't really care.
Do you think it'll be a win? Is your prediction?
Yeah, I do. I mean, yeah, why not?
So at your meeting, did they take any big changes coming? They got any ideas?
Yeah, there was a few bits and pieces. It was all just very much like addressing what has been wrong with the club over the last year and a half. They're obviously very big on improving supporter relations, which is, you know, you can tell by doing them meetings. We can do similar meetings like that and also more public ones throughout the season. Luke Pake's very much keen on the fact that he wants to be like meeting the fans. He's like, if we get, because we're talking about like, they used to get the players going to the bar at the stadium after the game, and it stopped happening. We got humped, and he was like, well, if we get humped, I'll go up and speak to the fans. He's very much like, you know, team's an honest guy, which is good. But yeah, lots to be happy about. There was some talk about Graham Dorrans. They basically tried to persuade me that he was a good guy. And my opinions, it's not changed as such, but yeah, I feel a lot bit sorry for him after some of the stuff I get told. But anyway, we'll leave it there because I have a little hypocrite now. I'm slagging him for you.
Right, well, alongside that game in League One this weekend, there's Alloa taking on Kelty Hearts, Airdrie versus Falkirk,
That's the standout, isn't it?
Versus Queen of the South, and then Clyde, they host Peterhead. Yeah, the standout should be Airdrie and Falkirk, you'd say.
0-0, yes, please.
No, that would suit you, I suppose, and that charge for the title. Well, how's the table looking right now anyway, Alpha? Aye, you're all up there. Edinburgh, a bit of tough game.
Top of the table clash, isn't it? That's Edinburgh, I think. I could be right. The Clyde will be top, are they?
Right, Kieran, your expertise in League 2 then, mate. What do you think? Give us the breakdown for Stranraer versus Bonnyrigg Rose this weekend.
I mean, you know how much I love.
Well, I mean, interestingly, it's East Fife versus Bonnyrigg Rose, so there you go.
Sorry, I'm looking at match day 3.
Every fucking time, man.
What a start. So, Kieran, give us your expertise for East Fife versus Bonnyrigg Rose this weekend.
Yeah, I would feel.
Table clash.
I would feel bad if I was to hog the mic every week on this League 2 part. I mean, I feel like I've talked ears off you, so I'm going to let you take the lead on one round.
Ah, yes, of course. My team I picked Elgin to win the league, not East Fife. Got that one wrong.
Annan.
I think I
picked Annan too. I think they both got beat, didn't they?
Aye, they did. So we'll run through the games. League 2 sees East Fife host Bonnyrigg Rose. Annan will play Stennismuir. Stirling, Elgin City. Albion Rovers versus Dumbarton. And finally, the last game of the weekend, Forfar taking on Stranraer. There you go. That's your games for match day 2, not match day 3 of League 2. So an interesting weekend all round in Scotland. Apart from that, other bits of news. I mean,
Twitter questions!
I'm going to get to the Twitter questions right now. Just wrapping up a couple of wee things. Che Adams looks as though he'll be getting a move. He's off to Nottingham Forest by the looks of things. Rangers are in and about looking for more players. They're looking at Dennis Bouanga of St Etienne. And yeah, some other wee bits and bobs in there. But Che Adams.
Odds on him scoring a goal and Sun running with a thing on the back page, Dennis the Menace. You can just see it now, can't you?
That's that, isn't it? Right, Twitter questions to wrap up today's show. Tonight,
I've got them ready here to go if you want.
Oh, you might do them. Right, okay, go.
Oh my god. Right, okay, I wasn't quite ready. There's lots of stuff. There's quite a few tweets about more FM stuff. I just don't know. I think until the new game comes out, I'm not sure it's really. I'm not sure.
It's a bit late in the year to start now, isn't it? Because the new it's still a few months, but I mean,
Aaron Smith asks, "Who's the best manager in the league out with Gio and Ange?" I think it's an easy answer, really.
Well, you guys say
Derek McInnes for me.
Derek McInnes. Yeah, it's got to be Derek McInnes. Aye, that's an easy answer.
Yeah, I was singing his praises, so it'd be rude of me naughty.
I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was about to say like Jim Goodwin, and then I just completely forgot Derek McInnes existed. So, aye, thanks, David.
Shugs asks, with the incoming of VAR, surely we need imperial refs now to run it, or it'll still favour certain teams in certain games. And I've just got this image like stormtroopers now refereeing the games. I mean, that imperial march down the line, you've got stormtroopers with lightsabers.
Darth Vader sitting in the VAR office.
Oh, that'd be so sick. Willie Collin just becomes fucking Darth Vader. That'd be so cool. So I think he means we need foreign refs. I think that's what he means. No, we don't. We don't need foreign refs.
We need robot refs.
We need better refs. I don't really care where they're from.
There's got to be robots in the Champions League for Celtic.
I did see that. I mean, if it makes the offside decisions quick rather than this fucking tedious drawing the lines out with a fucking Armpits, Martin.
Kieran's face looks
Wait,
confused. So in the Champions League, they had it at the Club World Cup, and they're now going to have it. It was never meant to get used to Qatar, but they're going to have it at the Champions League group stages this season. So it's this new system. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's like semi-automated offside system, something like that. So basically, when there's an offside call, rather than the referee taking 70 seconds, there's going to be a chip placed inside the ball, and AI will map up the field of players, and it'll be able to determine whether the goal is offside or not in 25 seconds, apparently. There you go. To briefly sum it up. So robots are coming. AI is coming. There you go.
So are they going to do that for every single offside call? Because that sounds like a fucking nonsense.
I don't think it'll be every single offside call. I think it'll be the ones that would normally get deferred to VAR.
But even then, you can see something get deferred to VAR that take less than 25 seconds. It was like a really obvious one.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. I'll just need to wait and see it. I didn't see the Club World Cup.
Game's gone.
Yeah, game's gone. Game's gone.
Yeah.
Right, next question.
Oh, Christ, sorry, questions. My phone down there. There was someone on Instagram, I think, as well, because I was efficient like that. But Christ, actually, it was just one, wasn't it? And Cole Shields wanted to know if we think Rangers will bounce back on Tuesday. But I think we all think they will win next week. Am I right?
I think they'll battle them 3 or 4-0, probably.
If Hearts don't finish top 4 but get European football after Christmas, do you think it's a good season for them? Oh, yeah, probably. I would say so. So they finish 5th, but they get to the knockouts of Europe.
I think the buzz of that for Hearts fans would definitely make up for that, because they'd see that I don't know, they'd probably put that
especially
up
the Conference League. They could probably go, if they get a bit of luck in the draws, they could do all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think they could beat Zurich in that game?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just got to be
chances, but
they've got enough quality in that team, actually, haven't they?
Where's
They've got 2 strikers who can score goals for fun up front.
Where's the Conference League final this year? It's Snowball Stadium.
I don't know, but I've got a minute until I'm hanging up.
Right, okay, quick questions then. Questions, go.
There's really hardly any left that were there. Aaron McIntyre asked the club with the biggest average dick size in the Premiership.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And that does it for Talk Scottish Football this week.
Kevin Van Veen must have a piece on him, that's all I'm saying.
Bevis McGabby.
I'll tell you what, that Motherwell team's got some hammer throws, isn't it? I mean, quite literally hammer throws. Yeah.
Right, okay, that'll do it. That'll do it for PSF this week. If you have been watching and listening, thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back next week, probably in the studio at some point. Well, me and Kieran, we're on our holidays, so we'll be leaving you in the very capable hands of the others, probably, for the next week or so. So, yeah, enjoy that while you can. I hope you've enjoyed this Zoom spectacular. David, Kieran, thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Right, cheerio. See you next time.